I want to tell you a story about foxes and how I created with God. It all started like a month ago when my family decided that we will get rabbits, little bunnies for my kids, because they wanted to have pets. And so we figured out I had already a dog, but we were kind of overwhelmed when we got the kids. So my dog is now with my parents and sometimes they're visiting. So a new dog was not in the game. Also, a cat wasn't really something we were drawn into. So we thought, hey, why not getting rabbits? 3 little bunnies, we can have them outside in the garden. This is pretty easy. That's the most comfortable way for us. At least I thought so. The day we decided that we take 3 bunnies and having them outside in the garden, we figured out that next to us there was a property where there was an old house and they just removed it. And so it was all like wilderness. There was a lot of trees and a lot of bushes. So it was like it was really cool to see like into the wilderness. But what we figured out is that they're living a fox family. And imagine this, we're in the middle of Vienna, and I thought always like, I'm from the countryside, I've never seen foxes before. But here in the middle of Vienna, there are foxes everywhere, in every district, like city foxes. And I learned that, in other cities like London or Berlin, there are foxes as well. So it seems they kind of got into the lifestyle of, a wild animal in a city. And so, first of all, I was like, oh, that's interesting, a fox, it's pretty to look at. And we just looked out of our window and we saw these 3 foxes here. And it's like, oh, that's sweet, that's sweet. And then the next moment I figured out, hey, maybe that's dangerous for our rabbits. And I started to talk to people. And everyone said, hey, you can't do that because, the fox will kill the rabbits immediately. And everyone had a story to share, like horror stories from where they know someone where the fox came and the fox killed rabbits or they killed chickens or whatever. And so I got really anxious because the last thing that I wanted to have is to get rabbits in the first night they are killed by the foxes. How dramatic would that be for my kids? So, as I'm always doing, if I'm really into something, I stepped 100% into the space of, hey, I want to create a fox-proof home for the rabbits. And so I did my research. I figured out that it's not only just a rabbit housing that you need, that you get like for $300 or 300 euros. It's more like you need to make this fox proof, which means there is a lot of extra work on that. And I always thought, I'm not good at building things or like doing all this work, especially outside in the garden. And so I really got into that mindset of, hey, I am responsible for the happiness of my kids and my family. And so therefore I will do everything to make it happen. So it took me 2 weeks to figure everything out. We had like some blinking lights in the night, which fired off when someone was coming near. We had like ultrasonic device. I got an ultrasonic device, which kind of has a movement detector, and if something moves beyond it, it will sound. do these ultrasonic sounds, which foxes don't like, and all other animals as well, like cats and dogs. I even got something that has a motion detector and is connected to a um, water hose. So what it does is, like, if someone or like an animal comes close to it, it starts to sprinkle water, like in a 10-meter direction. So I got prepared with all of that, and I was really, really scared. I even got a wild night vision camera to take photos and videos in the night so that I know what's going on here, right? And this was like really 2 weeks of being really, really anxious about that. And then what I call is creating with God, because I had this intention to really make this, make the arrival of the rabbits like a really happy and fun place to come from, and not like a disaster by they're getting killed by the foxes. What happened one day before we got the rabbits, all of a sudden I saw people at the neighbor's property, and I thought, these are people from the city, because they really care about foxes. And if they see foxes, or they know about that foxes are here, you can't do anything. It's like, yeah, they are protected. And I thought, these are these guys. And what I figured out is, like, just by talking to them, it turned out this was the owner of the property started to build a house there immediately, and they just took everything away from there. They started to work on building these houses, at least the first steps. Which what happened is, like, that the foxes were gone. And so for me, it's like, oh, that's interesting. I kind of created the whole scenery for like 2 weeks, making this like a fox protected garden. And all of a sudden, they started to build a house there. And it was like, I think it was 2 years or so that nothing happened there. And all of a sudden this happened. It's like, oh, wow. Thank you, God, for sending me this sign. And, the foxes were gone in a way. They were not living next to us anymore. Yes, they're still there, but not so close to us. So what happened? We got the rabbits. And then the first night, the fox was there. It took the night vision camera took a photo, and I have a photo of the fox standing on the roof of this rabbit housing. And again, I was scared. It's like, nothing is working. These foxes are like, they are used to people. They are used to the city lights and the city sounds. So there's no way to protect it. Then a couple of days later, all of a sudden at like 8 p.m., my wife said, hey, the fox is here. And actually the fox was standing in the garden. And we were like, oh, what should we do? We ran out. We had this kind of water bazookas that I bought for my kids. And so we kind of, ran out in the garden, and the fox was gone again. But there was still this feeling of, that's not good. How can I protect these rabbits? And at this evening, I had a call with a colleague, Fiona, and I was late, 50 minutes, because, I was just scared what the fox is doing in our garden. And I came to this call, and I said, hey, sorry, we have this problem with this issue with the fox. Sorry for being late. And she says, this was the first time I was talking to her. And she says, we had the same problem in London. And what we did, like my husband and my son started to mark the territory. And that's like, oh wow, that's another God-sent gift for me, marking the territory, marking my garden, because it seems male urine is something, which includes pheromones and testosterone, like hormones, so that foxes really see that as, okay, there is another one protecting his territory, and I'm not getting there, and I'm not going there. So what I started immediately, I marked like the entry points, because I know where the fox was coming into the garden, and the problem was gone. There was no fox in a week. And that's just, for me, that's so mind-blowing, is if you take an intention and you commit to something really 100%, the universe will show you ways on how you can get to your goal and get what you want. And that's exactly what happened here. Going from really being scared for 2 weeks because I made the fox like an over enemy that I can't even fight, to a place of really being calm inside and saying, hey, I don't know what to do. And I created that because I was telling everyone about this issue. Everyone gave me super helpful tips. And then all of a sudden, they're building their house there after 2 years, exactly in that moment, one day before the rabbits arrived. And then I get this tip from Fiona, whom I've never met before, who had the same problem like 20 years ago or so in London, and that helped. And so taking everything together and being someone I am, who protects my family, or protects not only my family but also the rabbits from the fox. And this is what I created, and I just wanted to share that with you. If you're coming from, I'm 100% committed and I do whatever it takes to make it happen, you can create miracles. That's my takeaway from that. So the question for you is, what is one field in your life where you want to create miracles? And by committing 100% to that task, you will reach your goal. Let me know. Love you guys.